So this talk is entitled Fall Back into Resonance, right? And the focus of this is really about embracing the natural rhythm of nature. How would our lives be if we were not resisting or fighting against what is? As fall arrives, it is a time to harvest and a time to rest. What if we embrace life on life's terms, embrace this time of renewal and finding the joy in being in the flow? Now, before the Industrial Revolution and before electricity became the norm within every home, humans were in sync with nature's cycles. We would get up with the sunrise and we would go to sleep with the darkness of the day. Maybe we stretched it out a little bit longer by having evening fires to warm us, and we'd sit around and commune with each other and have a little extra time of luminosity. We lived by the cycles of the sun and the moon. We were very active in the warmer months, and we rested in the winter months. Carol Venolia, in her blog Mother Earth Living, says this: "This way of life wasn't merely convenient, it turns out to be vital to our physical and mental functioning, to our moods, and even our survival. In fact, many researchers believe that being synchronized with natural light-dark cycles is the basis of good health." End quote. The circadian rhythm is also known as our body clock. And when we are out of sync with our body clock, it can make us vulnerable to physical and mental illnesses. There's this wonderful quote that I want to share with you. And the quote comes from the University of Pittsburgh Health Sciences newsletter, which is entitled Pit Med. And the author of this article is Sarah C. Baldwin. And the article is "Out of Sync, When the Body's Clock is Off, Mental Health Suffers." The human circadian system is composed of the suprachiasmatic nuclei, a pair of small structures tucked in the hypothalamus that act as the brain's central timekeeper, and the genes that make up the biological clock, which are found in almost every cell of the body. The SCN contains thousands of neurons that fire rhythmically in responses to light and darkness. The circadian genes in our cells produce clock proteins, whose levels rise and fall on an approximately 24-hour cycle, triggering or suppressing a host of key physiological processes like the blood pressure, heart rate, digestion, hormone production, and appetite. End quote. While the circadian rhythm is based on a 24-hour cycle, the lunar rhythm cycle is every 29 and a half days. And this cycle is the entire time it takes the moon to go through all of its phases, from new moon to full moon and back to new moon. There has been much folklore about the impact that the moon has on fertility of all species, including humans. Much of that folklore is being corroborated by science. The lunar cycle impacts the rhythm of the tidal changes. So every 12.4 hours, there is a massive shift of large bodies of water on our planet. And depending on the phase of the moon, the ebb and flow of the tides are greatly affected. So guess what? As human beings, our bodies are made up from anywhere from 40 to 75% of water. And that determination of the percentage really changes based on your age and your sex, on whether it's 40 to 75%. So, how can we imagine, right, that we wouldn't be impacted by these changes as well? When all of these cycles affect our own body's rhythms, moods, health, and well being? Of course, there is also what's known as seasonal rhythms, which impact plants and mammals, and it tells them when to grow and when to be dormant. The season reminds us when to be active and when to hunker down and relax. Just as plants and animals follow the seasonal cycles of Mother Earth, we humans need these cycles as well. It's vital to the well-being of our bodies. The changes in light, temperatures, environments are all utilized to help regulate both men and women's hormonal levels, blood pressure, heart rate, cell rejuvenation, moods, and so much more. Imagine if we allow our bodies and minds to awaken to the sun rising. Waking up in this manner gives our body time to adjust to a change in the status, a change in status from sleeping to waking. Our hormones get stimulated to gradually tell us, hey, wake up, you want to start the day. Doesn't that sound like a kinder and gentler way of being with ourselves, as opposed to the jolt that most of us experience when the alarm clock shocks us into getting up? Our society has constructed a world that is no longer in the flow of nature or in the flow of the universe. We are often working long hours to hopefully provide for our families. We buy into the beliefs that we must be productive every waking moment of our lives to be considered of value. We have learned that nurturing ourselves and loved ones should take a lesser priority in our lives. Our society even tells us that a natural biological expression, such as getting old, is unacceptable and is seen as something we are to fight against. How crazy is it to be in resistance to something that is going to happen no matter what? But as we awaken to consciousness, we, my friends, we have a choice. We have the choice to continue to push ourselves relentlessly by ascribing to society's rules, or to challenge those false beliefs that no longer serve us. Here's the thing. Humans are not separate from the planet. Humans are not separate from the energetic flow of the universe, nor are we separate from God. The rhythm of Mother Earth and the flow of God's love are here to support us. And when we allow ourselves to be in the flow, we can use the high energy time to be creative and focused and productive. And when the energy is dim and the flow is low and lethargic, we can use those times to rest, slow down, and relax. You see, being in the flow is a call from our souls to come into alignment with Source. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, writes in his book, The Revealing Word, his take on relaxation. Let me share that with you. So in The Revealing Word, Charles says relaxation is a letting go of tenseness in mind and body, an abatement of strain, loosening of the tight mental grip we have on ourselves in order that the healing Christ life may flow freely through our being. Isn't that powerful? We have bought into the false belief that relaxation is not of God. I remember my grandmother saying to me as a kid and teenager growing up, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his mouthpiece. Did you know that this quote comes from Proverbs chapter 16, verse 27. There has been a puritanical interpretation of this verse by our culture to mean that if we are not being industrious, or heaven forbid, just relaxing, then we will be led into criminal or mischievous endeavors. When in reality, this verse was really talking about the misdeeds that people can perpetrate when they are affected by the human condition of envy. That's a very different take than my own indoctrination, which forced me to believe that I had to be busy at all times to be worthy of God. Fillmore continues to enlighten us about what we are called to be. I'm going to share this next quote with you. In his book, Christian Healing, Charles Fillmore writes this: Jesus said that man must deny himself and follow me. The me here referred to is the higher self, the Christ, and the himself is personality. Denial is putting away of the mental error and entering into conscious relaxation of both mind and body. End quote. And then Fillmore does something one better. He tells us how to go about achieving this state. And I'll share that quote with you. In his book, Jesus Christ Heals, Fillmore writes this: the first step in prayer for health is to get still. Be still and know that I am God. To get still, the body must be relaxed and the mind quieted. Center the attention within. There is a quiet place within us all, and by silently saying over and over, peace be still, peace be still, we shall enter that quiet place, and a great stillness will pervade our whole being. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? That we have the power to create this. You see, falling back into resonance means being in the natural flow of life, honoring the natural flow of the day, of the tides, of the moon, and of the seasons. It is allowing our bodies to awaken to the wonder that we are designed to be. And in that allowing, we consciously release the mental, erroneous beliefs that we are human doers instead of human beings. You see, the byproduct of being in sync with the rhythm of the universe and Mother Nature is that we find ourselves flowing with what is and not in resistance to life. Suddenly we find ourselves in the midst of the right place at the right time. We no longer struggle. We are no longer striving. We start to put our trust and faith in divine order. Being open to what's coming into our orbit is for us. We stop looking at what other people are doing and saying and comparing ourselves to them. We find acceptance in the limitations of our mind and body as a season of rest. We find joy in our energetic surges as we create anew. We become more in touch with our intuition, wisdom, and guidance. We surprisingly discover that what we accomplish in those moments of being in that energetic flow of creation is done with ease and at a higher level of productivity than if we were to struggle against the flow for long hours. I invite you to start on this path of renewal. Now, even though the full moon was last night, it will still be big and bold tonight as well. So take a moment. take a moment to go outside and look at the moon and let the moonlight wash across your skin. The full moon is a symbol of exuberance, a balance of the lunar and solar energy, an equalization of the yin yang. It's a time of gratitude and creative energy. So tonight, as you bathe in the luminosity of the moon's rays, create a ritual that will really anchor your thoughts and body into this new way of being. You can meditate under the moonlight and bring in the healing energy that is being permeated through the heavens while exchanging any erroneous beliefs. You can light a candle. You can dance in your yard underneath the moonlight. You can sing a song of gratitude. And you can even affirm, as Fillmore did. As I relax more and more and lift my consciousness to harmonize with the ever-present perfect mind, I am invigorated and restored to stabilizing power. No harm can befall me, and I am made strong through spirit. So I want you to use this affirmation this week. I'm going to say it again. As I relax more and more and lift my consciousness to harmonize with the ever-present perfect mind, I am invigorated and restored to stabilizing power. No harm can befall me. I am made strong through spirit. So whatever moves your creative juices this time, do it. Just embrace it and do it without judgment. You can even make this a monthly practice to remind yourself of your commitment to being in the flow of life. So today I end this talk by inviting you to fall back into resonance with truth. Thanks for listening.